As a 55-year-old woman who has been taking control of her finances over the last few years, I have learned a lot about money. And during that time, I have come to acknowledge the fact that over the last 35 years, I have made some pretty dumb decisions about money that I have really come to regret. And those decisions cost me over $1 million. And no, I'm not exaggerating. So today, whether you're over 50 and you just want to feel better about the financial choices you've made, or you're 20, 30, 40 years old and you've been able to avoid these pitfalls and want to know how to keep avoiding them, this is the video for you. So in the next 20 minutes, I am going to share my 15 greatest financial regrets and the steps you can take if you've made the same ones to escape the damage that has been done by them. And if you haven't made these mistakes, I'll tell you how to avoid them. So here we go. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Carrie Stone, and this is Carry On, where we talk all things money, movement, and mindset. And today, we're talking money. Because when it comes to savings for your retirement and building your nest egg, the dumb money mistakes while you're young will most certainly affect your bank account later. So here are the 15 biggest financial regrets of my last 35 years of life and how you can avoid them. Number 1, I regret not saving. And like many of you, I had all of the excuses. Oh, I'm self-employed, I don't have regular income, blah, 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 but I want this and I want to do that and I can't afford and yada, 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 yada. But what it came down to, I just didn't save. I didn't prioritize it. You know, the main reason I didn't prioritize it, I didn't understand the value of compound interest. I wish somebody had explained that to me, because compound interest is your friend. Truly, truly. If you're watching this and you're in your 20s, come to love compound interest, because I ran some numbers. If I had just invested $100 a month over the last 35 years, I would now have $224,860. Almost $250,000 for $100 a month investment. If I had invested $500 a month, I would now have $1,022,000 for a $500 a month investment. But let's just say you're young and broke, and let's say the market wasn't returning as much as 10% over the last 35 years. What if I had only invested $10 a week? What if? You can come up with $10 a week. That's a fast food order. That's a latte and a muffin. You know, you can come up with $10 a week. So if I had invested $10 a week over the last 35 years, I would still have $68,000 today. Now, $68,000 is not going to change the world, but $68,000 is better than nothing. So whatever you do, invest in your future today. Use the power of compounding interest. So how to avoid this pitfall of not saving? Automate. Every time you have a check go into the bank, have a certain amount of that check go into a savings account, and then move that money into a high yield savings account, or move it over into an IRA or a mutual fund or some sort of investment that will bring you a good return. And make sure that money is not easy to access. If it's easy to access, you'll find an emergency to spend it on, but you need to protect your future self by making sure you're investing in that person. Number 2 regret I have: credit card debt. Oh, they come after you so badly when you were young, and in the weakness of your early 20s where your brain has not finished developing all the way, you fall for those ploys, and I did. And I signed up for those cards, and I used those cards to buy things I did not need, to impress people I did not like. And then I paid the minimum payment every single month, which meant I also got to pay the very high interest rate. And I can tell you, not having credit card debt is a beautiful place to be. If you have credit card debt, I'm begging you, get it paid off. Just pay it off and stop falling for the traps. You will thank me later. So how do you avoid the credit card trap? Don't open the credit card offers. When they come into my house, I rip them up or shred them and I let them go. I do not allow myself the temptation of seeing what the offers are. Just flee credit card debt with everything that you have. And then learn the lesson. If you can't afford to pay cash for it, you can't afford it. And recently I heard a girl say that she makes the decision about whether she can buy something by this standard. She says if she can pay for the item 3 times over, then she can afford it. And I thought that is really cool. And I put that into my memory bank for my next purchase to remember, can I pay for this 3 times over? And if you can, go ahead and get it with cash. My number 3 money regret is getting a car loan. I had a car loan fresh out of high school, and because I was young, it was a higher interest rate, and I was trapped. And so here I was in a commission-only business, and I did not have a regular income, but every single month I had to pay a car loan. And I felt like a prisoner. And I'm really grateful that I went through that, because that has kept me over the last 35 years from ever getting a car loan again. But I have the philosophy that if I can't pay cash for that car, I can't afford that car. So how do you avoid the car loan pitfall? You pay cash. You buy a car you can afford. And before you say, oh, it takes too much money to buy a car. My daughter right now is mourning the fact that in a few months she has to sell her Toyota Camry that she bought for $300. And that car has been loved by 2 other people, and she has well over 200,000 miles on that thing, and we have great memories in it together. And she is mourning having to let go of that car that she bought for $300. So you can find a good, reliable car for, $500, $1,000 if you have to. And the trick is you buy what you can afford to pay for, and then you make car payments to yourself. So today, the average car payment for a used car is about $520 a month. And for a new car, about $737 a month. So if you're wanting to buy a new car, make that payment to yourself every single month, $737. You put that money into the bank every single month, and you're saving up the money that you need for a car. If it's only $500 a month, you still have $6,000 at the end of the year. So you can upgrade your car to a $6,000 car. And then you keep doing the same thing. Keep making a car payment to yourself until you can have the car that you want. But it is possible. Trust me. I pay cash for cars. I wait and I buy them when the prices are right and when I need to replace the car that I currently have. My number 4 money regret was buying an expensive car without considering the cost. See, I got a deal on my first car out of high school. I bought an Audi Quattro, but I did no research. And so I didn't realize that you couldn't get an Audi Quattro fixed just anywhere. I also didn't realize that it was considered a Euro sports car. So since I had 2 speeding tickets, my car insurance was very high for a Euro sports car. And there were only two places that could fix my car. One was an hour and a half away, and one was an hour away. And when the car broke down, and it did, and I had to tow it to one of those places, it was very expensive. So, how could I have avoided that pitfall? Well, I could have done some research. I could have learned what car was most affordable, which one made sense for a young woman who was driving a lot with real estate. There were better options I could have picked for myself, and I could have chosen a car that I could take to any garage to have fixed. And the biggest lesson I learned with that, buy a car you can afford. And affording isn't just the cost of the car. It's the cost of the insurance. It's the cost of repairs. It's the cost of putting gas in it. It's everything. Consider all the cost. Number 5 of my regrets is buying status instead of investing. Spending my money on things like Gucci or jewelry or things to impress other people instead of thinking about future me and what I would need. And I really regret not considering my future and putting some money away instead of buying stuff that I no longer have. So what a waste. So I wish I had impressed myself with my bank account instead of trying to impress others with my stuff. So how do you avoid that? Don't go shopping as entertainment. I grew up in the era where you did that. You went to the mall on Friday night. So going out shopping was a thing you did for entertainment. That is a bad, bad move because you'll always find something you need or just gotta have. And it's a bad move. So don't use shopping as entertainment. When you go out because you need something and then pay cash for it. And then stop worrying about what others think of you. Like maybe join the whole poor look movement that's going around now. The people who are not looking rich, but, acting poor. You could join that. I don't think I could ever do that. But I still do like to present myself well. But it might fit your lifestyle. Who knows? My number 6 regret is not buying real estate in the town where I grew up. And it was kind of foolish because I got into real estate at 18, but I never would have imagined that the town where I grew up would boom the way that it has. But I truly regret not listening to my instincts at that time and buying up either some land or properties that I could rent out because I could have made a great fortune on that. So how could I have avoided that? Well, I could build a time machine and go back in time and tell 18-year-old Carrie to buy up property in her town, but I don't think that's really going to work. So my other advice is listen to your gut and don't be afraid to invest in your future. Sometimes just buying up a little land or buying up that house that you can rent or you can live in part of it and rent the other part, it's worth the sacrifice. So listen to your gut when it tells you buy that piece of property. Number 7, one of my biggest money regrets that I need to preface by saying, I truly do not believe I would be alive today if we hadn't made this move. But financially, our move to Washington State was one of our biggest financial regrets that we have as a couple. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And one of them is the fact that the cost of living here is just so much higher. It's ridiculous. Even for things like in Nashville, I had a coupon ministry where people would bring in their coupons from their Sunday paper and I would cut them all out and I would go shop the double and triple coupon sales. And oftentimes I left the store with them paying me to purchase carts of food and toiletries that I could help poor people in the community. And I thought when I moved here, I would continue doing that. Nope, you don't find the stacks of coupons in the paper here. And I have never seen a store, at least in Western Washington, that does double or triple couponing, not once. So that hurt. It was a lot more expensive just for food and toiletries and things like that. Our property taxes are a lot higher here. And we moved here right in the era where bidding wars were happening on houses. And as real estate investors, we took a huge hit in that. And we ended up paying more for houses than we had ever done before and not having the profit margin that we had had in Nashville. But also, because of that, that's one of the things that led us to lose everything in the market crash in 2008. So had I done more research about Washington, we probably would not have made that move, because it also cost us in the music business. It cost my husband a lot of progress, and we paid for years for a song plugger. So it cost us money out of pocket to have left the area where our industry was. So it's a pretty big regret to be here. The only benefit has been I required natural medicine and people that thought outside the box when it came to health and wellness. And that was more easily found here in Washington State than it would have been at that time in Nashville. So again, I'm alive because of the move, but it did cost us millions, literally. So how do you avoid that mistake? Well, again, the time travel would be helpful. If I could go back and talk to Carrie in 2022 and tell her, no, I don't think that's a good idea. That would be good, but I can't do that. But again, research would have helped that and would have probably caused us to not make that move at that time. And then sometimes you just have to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And so we still might have done the research and still have made the move. Who knows? But it did cost us. Number 8 is tied to number 7 because we did not diversify. Because we were so gifted in the real estate investment area, it was my field with real estate and mortgages, and it was my husband's field with construction and renovation and things like that, that we just fell right into that together as a couple, and it made sense for us. So we did not prioritize diversifying, and even foolishly cashed out some IRAs to invest in real estate, and I really regret that. But we just thought we were doing what was wise because it's what we were good at. But it was not wise. We should have diversified, because the problem is when you have all your eggs in one basket, if you drop that basket, all your eggs are going to crack. And that's what happened in 2008. Our eggs cracked when we dropped the basket when the market collapsed in 2008. And it was quite painful to lose everything like that. So yeah, great regret not diversifying. So how do you avoid that problem? Spread your money around. Don't just put everything in one place. Don't just only buy real estate. Make sure you are building up your IRAs and your mutual funds and other investment areas. I will never, ever be fully invested only in real estate ever again. So diversify. Number 9, I regret not studying finances. We give ourselves a lot of bad talk. I'm not good at that. I don't understand that. I don't like to do that. It's not fun. Blah, blah, blah. But you know what the truth is? I wasn't good at finances because I didn't study it. It's funny when you study something and then you apply it, you find it to be fun when you actually gain victory over it. So I wish I had studied finances more, because it would have broadened my thinking on different investments. It would have caused me to want to diversify outside of real estate because I understood real estate. So I was comfortable there. I should have gotten more uncomfortable and studied finances, because ignorance is not bliss. Knowledge is power. So how do you avoid that? Study. Learn all you can about money and finances and investing, and then start taking some chances. Start slow, and as you're gaining knowledge, start learning and just growing as you go along. And don't worry about slow growth, because slow growth is still better than no growth. Number 10, I regret not budgeting. But from the beginning, 18 years old, out the door, I was self-employed, commission only, and I used that as an excuse to not budget. And then I married a self-employed guy, and I used that as an excuse for us to not budget. And for a short time in the beginning of our marriage, we did the whole Dave Ramsey envelope method thing, and that worked for a time until we got to the drier months. And I wish instead, had I been studying finances, I would have known just how to average out my income over the year and budget on the average. And I wish I had done that, because I'm telling you, ever since I started budgeting, the freedom that I feel when it comes to our finances is so liberating. It is incredible. And I could just kick myself now for not having found that freedom years, decades ago. But it was foolish to not budget. So no matter what your financial situation is, no matter if you are a broke college student or you have a 6-figure income and living comfortably, budget your money. Because if you don't know where your money's going, then you have no power over it. And like Dave Ramsey says, if you don't tell your money where to go, you'll wonder where it went. And that is so true. So get in control of your money. That's the answer to this one. You avoid the not budgeting by budgeting, and just get to know your bank account. Pay attention. And when you see little clues about waste, just listen to it and make the changes you need to make to have control of your money. Number 11 of regrets in our finances, partnerships. We have a friend in Nashville who used to say, partnerships suck. And you know what? He was right. So we did one partnership with a house, and then the market kind of slowed down. And so we were not going to profit from this house, but we had put a lot of work in it. So my husband and I wanted to wait it out. We wanted to go ahead and rent the house out and just wait it out for a year or two. Well, the partner, nope, he wanted his money out. So we sold, and we made nothing. We made nothing for months of hard work because we had a partner who wasn't willing to hold out. Another partnership we had, the guy totally ripped us off and destroyed some relationships along the way. And yeah, big regret there. The thing we learned, we will never, ever, ever do a partnership again. So how do you avoid this pain? Don't get into a partnership. Seriously, you think you know them? You don't know them. You don't. Just do what you can do on your own as much as you can. Avoid partnerships. Number 12 of my great financial regrets, borrowing from family. This was on our list of rules to never do. And actually, we didn't go seeking out a loan from family. We got into a situation with a house that was a guaranteed payout. Anywho, and we needed a loan to finish it off. And I was researching it and all, and I was talking to a family member about it, what I was going through and the process and stuff. And another family member came back and said, why don't I loan you the money for the house? And we both were like, no, we shouldn't do that. We should have listened to our instincts, because we did take the loan and the market collapsed. And even though we continued to pay that person on that loan, we had some really bad relational fallout from that. And it was nothing we could have done. The market collapsed. We couldn't do anything about it. And it was just a bad move. So don't borrow from family. If you can't afford to do what it is that you want to do without borrowing from family, then maybe just don't do it right now. Save up a little longer. And if you have somebody wanting to borrow from you, make sure if you're doing a loan to somebody that you see it as a gift. Because if that person ends up not paying you back, you don't want your relationship being ruined. So the way I see it, avoid borrowing from family, avoid lending to family. Just a bad move. Just a bad move all around. Don't buy what you can't afford. There's the lesson. Number 13. We regret not obeying our own rules, like borrowing from family. But we had a very strict rule. We always lived below our means. Always. Always. Our entire marriage, except this one time. When we built that house that we had to borrow from a family member, and the market collapsed, and we were living beyond our means. And it cost us our house, the house my husband built. And it was devastating. And it only happened because we were living beyond our means. Had we not been living beyond our means, we would have been fine. But follow your own rules. Set rules for your life that help to keep you on track. And then remember that you set them for a reason. Because every rule we set for ourselves, we have never regretted following, but we always have regretted not. And especially that time that we did not live below our means. So how do you avoid that pitfall? Follow your rules. Set rules that lead you to success and then follow them. Number 14 of my money regrets is not having an emergency fund. I don't know why I always had this idea that I could just come up with money whenever I needed it. I think because when I was younger, I would come up with money whenever I needed it. But it's a really foolish way to live, and it makes you a victim a lot. Because guess what happens? Life happens. It doesn't matter who you are. Life does not discriminate. It just happens to all of us. That tire will blow. Your car will die. Things will happen. Your dryer will just stop running. Things happen. Life happens. And not having an emergency fund just causes so much extra stress that you don't need to have. So I just didn't prioritize it, and it was foolish. And I'm really glad now that I take an emergency fund very seriously, because now when something breaks, I don't have that stress of, oh, how am I going to do this? Or now I have to borrow against a credit card or whatever. I don't do that now because I know life happens, and life happens to all of us. So how do you avoid this pitfall? Well, always assume that life is going to happen and have some money set aside to handle it. Everybody needs an emergency fund. There's no exceptions because we're all human. So we all will have things happening that we need to pay for. And number 15 of my greatest financial regrets, taking financial advice from broke people. We've all done this. We'll take advice about anything from anybody, and then we listen to them. I don't know why. It's like taking financial advice from broke people is like taking marriage advice from a single person. Why would you take advice from them? They obviously have not figured this out. So it's the same thing with financial advice. Why are you taking financial advice from all your broke friends or from the people that you work with who make a 6-figure income? But if they lose their job tomorrow, they'll lose everything. So they may look like they're doing okay, but they're not okay. So if you're going to take financial advice, take it from someone who is where you want to be. So how do you avoid this? First of all, find a mentor, someone who is where you want your life to end up being, someone who has been wise with their money. Study, read, research people. Read biographies of people who have been highly successful without inheriting it. And just learn as much as you can and listen to other people's stories. And then hang out with successful people. This will help you to propel yourself to a whole different level. We all have regrets about money. I'm sure you have yours too. And actually, I would love to hear what some of your financial regrets are, just so I can feel a little bit better about myself. We have all been ignorant and made poor choices at one time or another. But one lesson I've been learning is it's never too late to change. You can still make financial choices today that will set you up for a more profitable tomorrow. Don't count yourself out until you have taken your final breath. And I'm saying this as a woman who took control of her finances a couple years ago, and our situation has dramatically changed. So today, if you haven't done it already, start with making a budget. Pay off your debt. Build up an emergency fund. Stop buying things you can't afford to impress people you don't even like. Pay cash for your cars. Diversify your portfolio. Invest in your future. Pay down or pay off your mortgage. Make wise decisions. And don't take financial advice from people who are in debt and are living paycheck to paycheck. And if you want to know how to save $10,000 in less than a year, you can watch this video right here. And until next time, carry on.